Continuing Part 2, The World of the Names. The Cause of the Coincidence. The story of Esther gives expression to the situation in the essential when the temple has already been destroyed, when the exile has commenced. In that situation, God is indeed imperceptible. Together with the temple does God's perceptibility disappear. What happens during the exile belongs to another order of perceptibility. There, another causality obtains. The outward appearance, the phenomenal, points to a specific law. What does not correspond with it is called coincidence. We do not know the cause and usually discard the matter with the words that it happened accidentally. It is a case of bad luck or good fortune, or there was nothing at all and it just happened all of a sudden, sheer coincidence. If we were to examine the appearance of coincidence, we should become aware that there is a definite law operating there also. This law, however, merely refers to the plane where the law of big numbers obtains. No law whatsoever can be found to indicate whether the accident shall strike this person or that, and even in case the distinct operation of law be inferred from causality, it cannot be told for sure how this causality will affect various people individually. As far as the person, the individual, is concerned, everything seems to depend on chance, coincidence. From scientific statistic observation, it can be forecast that in a certain area, for instance, there will be some 10,000 casualties caused by traffic accidents in a year or two. Such a forecast can be made quite well, but nobody can predict which persons will be among these 10,000 or so. Reckless people may survive. Extremely cautious people may be killed. Similarly, it may be fairly accurately predicted, for instance, how many people between 40 and 50 years of age will die in a year's time in a certain country. These forecasts, too, prove to bear out properly. But which people between the ages of 40 and 50 will be numbered among them? Nobody knows. Those seriously ill may recover. Those enjoying good health may suddenly die. Nobody can tell. So we call it coincidence. The number of suicides, the number of motor cars for sale, the number of unemployed, of people drowned, of cancer patients, of insane people, etc., can be more or less accurately predicted for a coming period, if only it is not too long or too far ahead. But then who will commit suicide? Who will buy a car? Who? It depends on so many things that we just say, oh well, coincidence. Two people meet in a railway compartment. They did not know each other before. They are alone together. A conversation starts in a friendship, a tie for life. They will say a lucky coincidence. But if one should try to make a causal analysis of such an encounter, one would find that an indefinite number of factors, all of them apparently incidental again, had contributed towards it. Mr. A, one party at the encounter, actually meant to travel from London to Liverpool because he had an urgent call the previous day from a friend who wanted to see him on a matter of business. The friend had tried to ring up Mr. A week before, but A had just gone with his children to a social event of their school, so he was beyond reach. Otherwise, Mr. A would certainly have gone to Liverpool a few days earlier. That children should go to that particular school had something to do with the wishes of Mrs. A's parents in connection with the type of school. This, in its turn, has something to do with the fact that a boyhood friend of Mrs. A's father had helped to found the school. The social evening had originally been planned for another day, but one of the young actors had got ill, and so the performance had been postponed. Mr. A had looked into the timetables and meant to take the 2:30 express. An acquaintance of his who had just popped in offered, however, to take him to the station. Therefore, Mr. A was 10 minutes early and just managed to board a special train. He liked to be by himself and had good luck to find an empty compartment, so there he was. Mr. B lived in Liverpool. For quite some time he had meant to look up his son in London. Suddenly he had done it. His son was going on a long cruise with the Navy to take the place of somebody leaving for another destination. Mr. B had seen his son and spent the night in his flat and was on his way home now. He had gotten to a compartment where a loud-voiced lady was airing her views on modern youth to a fellow passenger. Mr. B thought, if I am to listen to this in the dear lady's Cockney accent too, I shall have a headache in a minute. So he gets up to find a quieter compartment. He sees a gentleman sitting all by himself with closed eyes, looking rather tired. Surely wants a bit of quiet too. That fellow won't talk, he thinks to himself. So that was how Mr. B got into Mr. A's compartment. The guard comes and recognizes Mr. B from the other compartment. I say, you have moved. Yes, I have. It was too noisy there. That Cockney accent, too. Mr. A is greatly interested in language and puts in a word about accents. A conversation starts. Contact is made. As said before, a bond for life, and as a result, Mr. B's son gets married to Mr. A's daughter. Pure coincidence? But why was it that the woman with the Cockney accent and youth problems happened to be in that compartment? How was it the guard recognized Mr. B, and what human motives urged him to comment on it? Why did not A take the 2:30 after all? Of course it was that acquaintance of his. Why did the Cockney accent upset Mr. B? We may try and check up on causes endlessly. We might get to some millions of them, for indeed every event expands in all directions as regards its causes. Nobody knows. We should become insane if we were to try and trace it all back. The only thing will be that on pondering the matter over, we shall heave a sigh because things are so very intricate. We shall, in the nature of things, very quickly come to abandon tracing causes. We will act. As the cases present themselves, without engrossing ourselves in eventual causes and motives, in fact, as far as knowledge of causes is concerned, we shall act gratuitously. We simply cannot do anything else. All the same, if we reflect more deeply, we shall realize that all these coincidences very often are too accidental. We shall wonder, a bit uneasy, if there may not be something behind it all. But we cannot find anything. We shall only get involved in a multitude of causes. It is then that we shall fully realize that the exile in form means what it means to have lost the faculty of seeing the world from one end to the other. We may not express things in these words, perhaps, yet our sentiments will be the same. God is imperceptible in the exile. The temple is destroyed. God has hidden his face, completely hidden his face. Hastir Esther, as it says in Deuteronomy 31:18. God is not mentioned in the story of the exile, in the story of Esther, for the very reason that Esther implies the concept of hiding oneself. And yet one might very well say, only God could have put all this together. One might say so, but would not be able to prove it. If God is imperceptible, if God hides his face, his existence cannot be proved. Indeed, in hiding himself, God does not want to be proved. God expects man in exile, in this wondrous world, in this fantastic and most fascinating life, to act without this proof, to act with the constant companionship of doubt, of fatigue, of the maddening thought that proof is impossible. God demands that man shall act gratuitously, behemon. It is for this very reason that God hides himself. The decline of the end of times is the reverse of God's hiding himself. And as a paradox, there is that immense possibility, the divine possibility for man to act gratuitously. The cause of the coincidence is hidden. The root is hidden. The true history is present in the unconscious only. God said, I shall hide my face. And with it arose the incalculable complex of events, which man calls coincidence. And exactly where he is personally concerned, there always is this strange coincidence as the decisive element. The law of statistics, the law of big numbers may point to causality without end, to predictable operations of law. But what really matters, man's personal fate shows uncertainty, which we call coincidence. There, the happening of the story of Esther, of the I, God, have hidden my face is called the Purim, happening. For Purim means chance, coincidence. A lot is drawn. Who is it that leads the hand? Coincidence, we say. Purim, we say.